Now, a different approach to teaching that's catching on in some schools. It's less focused on testing per se and more on making sure that students are picking up skills they can apply in the real world. Special correspondent John Telenko from our colleagues at the Learning Matters team has the story.
For a dozen years, education policymakers bet more testing and more accountability would mean more learning. But the gains have been modest at best, and achievement gaps persist. And then there's everything that's not on the tests, like creativity, responsibility, and self-motivation. Leaders in business and academia say not enough is being done to develop these vital traits.
We're going to need to find
One possible solution? Give students ways to apply their learning to bigger things than taking tests.
We're building robots that are made to collect resources, which are ping pong balls.
This was 13-year-old Nathaniel Youngren's introduction to the idea that nations compete for scarce energy resources.
You can do whatever you want to make them do this, but they have to be able to go out, get ping pong balls, and bring them back.
Building robots kicked off a 4-month study of energy by 8th grade students at King Middle School in Portland, Maine. It's the theme of all their classes, and it's led by science teacher Peter Hill.
The school's approach is if everybody's engaged, everybody's learning as much as possible. So we plan, exciting, real-world things that are tangible for the kids, then do something really meaningful with it.
So we need to revolutionize the way we use energy so we can improve people's lives.
Hill handed the students an ambitious assignment to finish by the end of the course, to build their own alternative energy devices.
You're going to create a device that captures natural energy and transforms it into something that's useful for people in some part of the world.
The idea that schoolwork can and should have a real-world application is central to the philosophy at King.
Second to last one says a building that uses passive solar technology.
And a hallmark of what's called deeper learning.
They see the meaningful and the purposefulness behind what they're doing. That's what gets kids to sink their teeth into the content.
Kids like Leva Pierce.
I'm actually really excited to be creating this device. It really makes you feel, I don't know, grown up, I guess, because you can actually grow up and do that. It's not just learning, it's experiencing.
Two! We got two!
The approach is similar at PS 130, a public elementary school in Brooklyn, New York.
As puppet designers, who do we need to think about as we design our characters?
The audience, yes.
So
Visiting artist Sarah Provost comes here twice a week to help 4th graders learn about Native American culture by turning the myth they're reading in class into a puppet show.
How is this better than just reading the story, sitting in a group, and talking it through?
So many ways. I think it really makes the story come to life, obviously. They really internalize the story. They kind of get to live the story,
I love this color.
They're also learning other lessons. Here's how. Each student is making a puppet, but we were surprised so many puppets looked alike. Turns out they represent the same character, but at different points in the story.
Let's make it that color.
It's done this way to encourage collaboration, another hallmark of deeper learning.
do you think the audience will know that this is the same character?
Yes.
They did an awesome job.
We're asking them to really think like artists, to really listen to one another's ideas, share their ideas, and that's how they do it as their design team.
Social skills matter, but most public schools, under pressure to raise test scores, put a higher premium on academics. And that doesn't sit well with deeper learning advocates like Katie Hong.
I think just by focusing on just the academic content, we left behind, right, all of these other aspects of the whole child that are really also important to develop.
Wait, let me see, turn around.
Deeper learning advocates believe it's not just what students know that will shape the course of their adult lives. What matters as much is who they are and how they see themselves. And that starts at a fundamental level with how each child views their own capacity to learn.
So for example, having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So the idea that intelligence is not something that you're born with, but it's something that you can get good at if you put in effort.
What can teachers do to develop the kinds of things that you're talking about?
Very simplistically, the way a teacher gives feedback on a test.
Hong cites a study in which teachers told a group of students they'd done well on a test because they were smart, and another group because they'd tried hard. Then they offered the students a chance to take the test again.
The first group, where they were told that they were smart, actually don't really want to retake it, because if you feel like every kind of test or exam is really like a test on whether you're good or you're not, it's not something that's motivating to you to want to continue to try harder at. Whereas someone with a growth mindset would take something and they say, I didn't do as well, but you know what? If I actually put in the effort, I could get better at it.
What can you do?
Deeper learning advocates are interested in developing other traits, like initiative, conscientiousness, and perseverance, all of which, they say, can be developed with the right teaching.
You actually have to give rigorous instruction and set really clear goals so that the student has enough mastery experiences where if the student, right, can actually see, wow, I set out to do this and I did do it.
Homework out, please.
The goal in Eleanor Terry's AP Statistics class at Telecommunication Arts and Technology High School in New York City is for students to learn to be producers rather than consumers.
So I want to hear words like random number table. In most math classes, the teacher gives information and it's kind of linear. You know, I do, you do, we do, and then they're tested on it. Students feel like this is happening to me. How many polling sites are in Assembly District 41? Yeah. In the statistics class, they are going to create their own math.
We will get a large variety.
Last fall, Ms. Terry students were debating the pros and cons of various polling techniques. But to go deeper, she had students create exit polls of their own.
We're handing out exit polls for an AP Statistics.
And on election day, they gave them to voters across the city.
If you want them to learn how to do statistics, let them be statisticians. We're going to end up with thousands of exit polls, large data sets that you have to clean up, and it's going to be messy, and no one will have done that before. So that data is theirs, and whatever they discover is theirs.
November 6th, everybody has off because it's election day, but we're going out and we're learning, and like a lot of us aren't mad or disappointed that we're going to be doing something school related that day. We're happy because we're learning more.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
On your mark, get set, go.
Back in Portland, Maine, where students will create their own alternative energy devices, phase 1 of the project ended with a robotics contest.
One of the possible pitfalls that people from the outside might see in this learning is that it's all hands-on. It's all fun and trust falls and kumbaya around a campfire. What they need to know is that we're really fundamentally looking at what do kids need to know. If it's meaningful and kids can apply it to new situations, that's something that's fundamental.
In the weeks ahead, these 8th graders will examine wind energy and build model turbines in preparation for their final project, creating an energy-generating device of their own.